I typically only have about 2 days per week where I can work in my studio uninterrupted, and I wanted to show you what that looks like. This week was a throwing week, so I started by prepping a bag of clay into 1¼ pound balls so that I could throw a bunch of mugs. I will then sit down and throw as many mugs as I can into similar shapes. When I'm throwing, I'm not aiming to make identical shapes. I find it to be really boring if I have to make the same exact thing over and over again, but I do have a fairly standard form that I like to make and find interesting. While I'm making these forms, I am thinking about the proportions fairly closely, and I'm trying to make sure that as I throw them, I am minimizing the amount of trimming that I'm going to need to do the next day. Because even though I love to trim, I don't want to spend forever trimming a mug, and then there's more clay to be recycled. So I try to finish off the top, probably 3/4 of the mug, and I really only trim the very bottom quarter of all of the mugs. It's then time to manage all of the drying of the mugs because they need to dry out just enough that I can trim them the next day. Hopefully, the weather's on my side and I can just leave them uncovered for a little while or for the rest of the evening, but that's not always the case. Most of the time, I will have to come back and forth even while I'm doing other things to make sure that my mugs dry evenly so that the lips aren't too dry and the bases are just dry enough so I can come in the next day and start the trimming process. The next day, I start by prepping all of the clay for my handles and making a bunch of handles for my mugs. I need the handles to be just the right consistency to attach them, and I find that's easiest to do if I prep them ahead of time and then let them set and dry while I'm trimming my mugs. The trimming process starts by tap centering each and every pot on the wheel and securing it down to the wheel head with lugs. That makes sure it won't go anywhere while I trim the bottom quarter, putting in a nice deep indented foot because I like that foot to be there for my glazing process, and I like the way it looks. After I trim them all, they get put in a little tote box to hold them at the right consistency for handling, and when I'm ready, I will pull out some mugs and some handles, which have also been put in tote boxes, and start putting the handles on the mugs. These tote boxes are a lifesaver, and without them, I would not be able to make so many pots. They help me hold my pots at the correct dampness so that I am able to work on them for much longer. To attach the handles, I will line them up, cut off any extra clay, and then carefully score and slip them together, making sure I have a really strong attachment. I think having a really good handle makes or breaks the mug, and so I am very, very careful with this stage, making sure that I attach them well and that they feel really nice on the mug. So this process sometimes takes longer than throwing the mug itself. After scoring and slipping, I will spend a good amount of time smoothing the handle down into the mug so they look like they are one piece and using a little tool to get rid of any extra clay. These are then able to set up and dry so I can do all of the decorating process on another day. Thanks for watching, and I hope this was interesting.